Hey friends, we are reeling a little bit over here from a dramatic day. So this is not, again, this is not one of our upbeat, normal, exciting videos. It's been a scary day. And so I wanted to walk you guys through what we've been learning today, because I don't want you guys to learn it the way that we've learned it. Okay, so story time. About 2 days ago, we noticed that sweet little Ember, our sweet little girl from Blaze, who was born around a month ago, had some diarrhea. And so, no big deal. That happens in kids sometimes, in goat babies. And so, we knew, though, we needed to make sure we figured out what was wrong before we treat anything. So, in baby goats, it's always a good idea to start with the temperature, and then to, if you can, do a fecal. And so a fecal is where you're going to look at their feces under a microscope, and it can be incredibly helpful as far as determining if you have a parasite issue or not. And so what we found with Ember was that she had coccidia. And so what we needed to do was treat her coccidia. Now, coccidia is wildly common in goats. In fact, pretty much every goat on the face of the planet has coccidia within their system. The issue is it can get so out of hand, they can get so overloaded with it that it stops their digestive system from functioning well, and it can actually ruin the lining of their intestines, which, I mean, is a death sentence. And so it's important to treat. And so we went ahead and started her on some medication to treat her coccidia. We also went ahead and started all of our other babies on a preventative measure for coccidia because it is very contagious. Unfortunately, it's the type of thing where they're shedding it in their feces, and then whenever other goats interact with their feces and maybe ingest some, I know, yuck, guys, right? They get it in their systems. And so typically if one goat has it, everybody probably has it. And so it's good to go ahead and either start treating everyone or at least put everyone else on a preventative to stop the outbreak. So yesterday we did day 1 of medicine. Today was day 2 for her. She was doing so much better. Her stools were kind of binding up a little bit more, so it wasn't, that diarrhea that, the issue with diarrhea is you're really scared about dehydration. Is my goat going to not get enough fluids and electrolytes and nutrients that she's going to die from diarrhea? That's the scare here. And so seeing that she did not have diarrhea anymore was awesome. We were so thrilled to see that. But right around lunch, my mother came flying into the house. And she said words that are just, there are some words, that when you hear them, they inspire fear in your heart. And the way she burst in the door and said, "It's an emergency, I need help." She's not a dramatic person. She's not the type of person to bust in and say something's an emergency when it's not. And so my blood ran cold and I ran to her, and I already knew. And so as I was flying through the door, I said, "Is it Ember?" And, immediately I saw in her arms, it was Ember. And Ember, she looked dead. And so I knew first thing is we need to get this goat warm, and then we can assess. And so I'm running around the house grabbing towels and a heating pad and my little space heater and a blow dryer, because we are going to make this goat a little heat station to where I can get her warm as quickly as possible. And so once I got it all set up, I got her put in it, and then I stuck my finger in her mouth just to kind of see that I was right, that she was cold. And it was like ice in there. So she was really, really cold. Now we live in Texas, and we've been having some really nice warm days recently, which has been awesome. But last night we had a cold front come in, and so overnight it was in the 30s, and it got cold. Today it's been cold all day, and it even rained this morning, and so it stayed really cold and super windy. And so Ember went out with her mom to graze today, and I think she just didn't have enough calories in her system, and she laid down somewhere and she started to get cold, and she got colder and colder until she couldn't get up. And so my mom had found her out in the field, thankfully, and she was just ice cold. So we got her in this warming box. We got her warmed up. Thankfully, it only took about 30-45 minutes to get her heated up again. And you could just tell right away she was feeling a lot better. It is such a relief whenever your measures like that work, because there are times when they don't. I mean, very recently for us, we lost a baby goat that we couldn't get warmed up fast enough. And so this one really hit home as far as the fear that we could lose another baby. And so I was so happy whenever she warmed up really quickly. She was responsive when we talked to her or when we touched her. And so it was really looking good, which is, it makes me so happy. So once she was warmed enough, we got her up to 103 degrees, which is the perfect internal temperature for a goat. We got her a nice warm bottle of milk to drink because I needed her stomach to be nice and full of calories so that she could maintain her temperature on her own. And then I needed to address the gross back end. Unfortunately, after a full day of diarrhea, it was pretty nasty back there. So Ember really needed a bath. So once she was warm, had a full belly, and I knew she was very stable, we went ahead and got her in the sink for a bath. Now, one thing that's really important with goat kids that some people don't know, and so I want you to know, is goats identify their babies not typically by what they look like, but by how they smell. And so it's really, really important if you have a goat kid that has to come in the house or get separated from its mother for some reason, that it keeps that smell in its fur intact. So bathing a goat that's a baby can kind of be dangerous. You could potentially wash off enough of that scent that the mother doesn't identify it as her baby anymore. So I was really careful as I was bathing to make sure that I was only cleaning off the back end where she was kind of a mess and did not mess up any of the scent that was along her spine. And then once I had her bathed, I also needed to make sure I got her dry. And so I pulled out the blow dryer, got her legs dry quickly, because we just spent so much time and effort getting her temperature up. I didn't want to run any sort of risk of being outside and wet when it's this cold. So we got her nice and dry with that blow dryer. So at this point, she was warm, fed, bathed, and dry. And so I knew she was really stable, which was the relief I had been looking for. So we let her have a few minutes to kind of play in the house. She got to meet our dog, Jake, which was really fun to watch. And then it was time to go back out to mom. I was a little bit nervous at first that Blaze might have hesitation about taking her back because I had washed her and I had used a little bit of soap when I washed her just to get her really nice and clean. So I was really hoping there would be no lingering scent from the soap and that Blaze's scent would still be on her baby. Thankfully, Blaze knew her right away. As soon as I brought her into the barn, she was calling out and Blaze was calling back. So she knew that was her baby, which was awesome to see. Well, I am so thankful that this had a good ending. But coccidia is not something to mess around with when it comes to baby goats. And so we're going to be making some changes on our farm just to make sure we're preventing it rather than, potentially missing the signs and missing treating for it early enough with our baby goats. So we're going to see, I need to do some more research as far as how I want to change our practices here. But, that's part of farming is when hard times or tragedies or mistakes happen, you just have to learn from them and adapt. And so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to learn and adapt. So thanks for coming along with us, guys. We have 2 goats who are going to be giving birth probably tomorrow. So some happier videos coming soon, thankfully. But you guys, thank you so much for following along with all these stories that we have from our farm. And thanks for always commenting, liking, and subscribing. Those things really do help our farm out. So thanks for watching.